Just to set the scene a little bit, Kweku has been, at this point, a surgeon, and a very good one in the United States, in Brookline, Massachusetts, for 70 pages of the novel. And things are about to go terribly awry. Okay. I am afraid we have to let you go. Silence, the length of the table. So long. An oval-shaped table with squat, rounded armchairs that look like they spun, like the Cubs ride at fairs. With half-circle armrests and leather upholstery, red with brass studs and the hospital trustees. A room in the hospital he'd never before seen on the uppermost floors where the offices were, but familiar at once from a lifetime of interviews, med school, scholarship, residency, fellowship, mortgage, a room of judgment. With the requisite oppressive room of judgment decor, polished wood, Persian rug, unread books with red spines, maximum number, countless books, dark red books no one read, heavy drapes through which dribbled in bright, hopeless light, swirls of color, feasting colors, plums, mustards, and wines, and white faces, the odd woman, an Asian woman, who spoke. Having reviewed all the details of Mrs. Cabot's appendectomy and of the complaint that the Cabots lodged against you therewith, this body believes that, though a phenomenal surgeon, you failed, but Kweku couldn't hear her. He could hear only Fola at 23 years old, with her law school acceptance letter framed on the wall, with a full ride to Georgetown and Olu in utero say, one dream's enough for the both of us. She would follow him to Baltimore and postpone studying law and give birth to their baby with not a penny to their name, and sell flowers on the sidewalk and take showers in a kitchen so that one of them could realize his dream. 20 years exactly from that to this moment, the whole thing erected on the foundation of a dream, general surgeon without equal, Ghanaian Carson and the rest of it, boy child, good at science, makes good, and he had. He had seen the thing through, the whole kit and caboodle, the accolades, the piano lessons, the sprawling brick house, the staggering prep school tuition, the calling bye every morning at 7:15 in scrubs and white coat. He had held up his end of the bargain, his success for her sacrifice, two words that they never said aloud. Never success, because what were its units of measurement? US dollars, framed diplomas, and what quantity was enough? And never sacrifice, for it always sounded hostile when she said it, and absurd when he attempted, like he didn't know the half. The whole thing was standing on the sand of this bargain, but they never dared broach it after one dream's enough. When they fought around it, about the diapers or the dishes or the dinner parties with colleagues, part of his job, waste of her time. But they knew, or he knew, that her sacrifice was endless, and as the sacrifice was endless, so must be the success. He would see the thing through if he could, and he prayed so. He blushed to admit that it was what he wanted most, to be worthy of the Pan-Nigerian princess, as they called her, that sophisticated escapee from the '67 war, with the bell-bottom jeans and the gap in her teeth, so much smarter and sexier than everyone else, even him, at Little Lincoln, a princess among plebes, not by having succeeded, but by being a success. To be worthy of Fola, to make it worth it for Fola, he had to keep being successful. So quite literally couldn't process the words that came next. If there were words that followed, you failed. Then 11 months arguing that he hadn't in court, hadn't failed, had been fired without cause, which she had. She'd waited too long to be rushed to the hospital, where they'd taken too long to decide to proceed. 77-year-old smoker with a ruptured appendix and a bloodstream infection days old, not a chance. Jane, Ginny Cabot, patron of research sciences, socialite, wife, mother, grandmother, alcoholic, and friend, would be dead before morning, whether in bed at Beth Israel or in bed on Beacon Hill, the higher thread count. The only reason Kweku had even attempted the appendectomy was because the Cabots had called the president of the hospital, a family friend, to suggest very politely that in light of their donation, surely a last-ditch operation wasn't too much to ask. It wasn't, and they wanted the very best surgeon. The president found Kweku as he was leaving to go home. The Cabots looked at Kweku, then back at the president. A word, they said politely, then moved into the hall. Kip Cabot, losing his hearing, spoke too loudly for the acoustics, but he's a very fine surgeon. the finest we have. The Cabot family physician, smug, a general practitioner, on retainer, a kept doctor, tanned, salt and pepper hair, stayed with Kwaku in the office while Kip continued in the hallway. And where did you do your training? Air quotes. In the jungle, on beasts, Kwaku answered genteelly. Chimpanzees taught, great instructors. The deliberators returned from the hall at that moment. Everyone flushed in different shades of a natural pink, but resolute. Whatever else he was, Kwaku was fit to operate. Someone thumped him on the shoulder. Kwaku addressed himself to Kip. In my professional opinion, sir, it's too late for surgery. But the longer I stand here, the more useless I become. The Cabots didn't want his professional opinion. They wanted him to go and scrub in. Hours, bloody business, trying to save the woman's life, with the president there observing from the gallery upstairs, apologetic, so embarrassed, I gave my word to the Cabots. But a masterful operation as per usual, his best. Clean, cut, find, pluck, sew, snip, white blood from face. Until a weary nurse called it, time of death, 3 a.m., and he left, walked out, got into his car, let out his breath. He still doesn't know how he drove himself home. The next thing he remembers is waking up, clothed, in the sitting room of all rooms with the Johnny Walker Gold, and his slippers sort of dangling from the tops of his toes, and the smell of kiwi strawberry inexplicably in the air, and the sense that something somewhere had changed. Then 11 months pretending that it hadn't, that nothing had changed, getting out of bed every morning, leaving the house, scrubs coat, briefcase, like the Singaporean protagonist in that movie he never saw, but always discussed as if he'd seen it, having read all the reviews, it being fashionable among surgeons to see Asian language films. According to the reviews, the man is fired from his bank, but, too ashamed to tell his family, still pretends to go to work, getting up, suiting up, going to sit in local parks to scan job ads, like that, but no parks. He'd leave, drive to Kleinman and Kleinman for an update, a long-term park, then cross the bridge to Harvard Law School on foot. Once there, he'd flash his plainly fraudulent alumni ID card, care of Marty's black classmate and doubles partner, Aaron Falls, to the plainly underpaid Latino law library security guard, whose accent produced the daily joke, "Good morning, Mr. Falls." In the stacks until 2 o'clock researching cases, wrongful dismissal, discrimination, malpractice, break for lunch. Then more reading until evening, when he'd cross back to Boston, the river liquid gold in the gloaming.